Okay, a couple of things we left out in the first video about the Symphony No. 40 by Mozart, first movement, is that it's in G minor, and it has an unusually quiet start for a symphony. The score has markings of P, which means piano, which means soft. Now this first movement has a very set structure. Let's look at that there. Simply put, it's A-B-A, which is sonata form. The first A is the exposition, the B is the development, and the A is the recapitulation, or we can just say recap, as in summary. The exposition is made up of the first subject, the transition, the second subject, and a codetta, which is just a mini coda. The B is a development, and that's all based on the first idea of the first subject. And that's taken from here and goes like this. So now let's look at each section of that first A section, the exposition, in more detail. First we have the first subject. It's in G minor. The texture starts quite thin and quickly gets thicker. We hear the first idea melody, then the second idea melody, and only the strings start with woodwind coming in later. And as we said, it's an unusually quiet start to the first movement of a symphony, being piano or soft. Now let's look at the next section in the exposition, the transition. We move to B flat major now, which is the relative major, but we also had some added chromatic notes. So these are notes that don't really belong to the scale of B flat major. The texture stays thick, we hear more chromatic melodies, and the instrumentation is still woodwind and strings, and the dynamics are now forte, which just means loud. Now let's look at the second subject. We're still in B flat major, we've added chromatic notes, the texture is still thick, there's some imitation going on in the melody. That just means kind of copying melody using different sections of the orchestra or different instruments. We've still just got the woodwind and string section of the orchestra, and it starts quietly in this part of the exposition, but then we quickly change to lots of louds and softs. Finally, the codetta, the mini coda. We start in B flat major and we go back to the relative minor, G minor, the main key of the piece. The texture stays thick, there's lots of imitation in the melody, particularly between the clarinet and the bassoon, and of course the section of the orchestra is still woodwind and strings, and there are more sudden dynamic changes of louds and softs, and it ends loud. So do remember that that was all just the exposition section, the first A section. Then we have the development, and then the recapitulation, or the recap, which is based all around the second idea, which is this melody.